Thanks for joining. We are recording this session for you to see at a later date, and we're going to cover the account settings today in Stova and all of the area that I'd like you to keep clean and tidy. And what I'm showing you on your screen right now is the foyer that you just came in through. Just a reminder that this recording will be available for you in this foyer, and do click through the previous dates on this virtual foyer and you'll be able to see other recordings. And if you need to get any of those recordings sent to you, please reach out and we can pop them right over to you. Now I have switched to a different part of my screen and I've created a brand new account here, so it's pretty plain vanilla, not a lot in it, and I'm going to dig through some of the account level settings to show you what you can set up yourselves. Now, inside any old registration site, if I right mouse click and head into registration settings, I want to bring your attention first of all to the standard list of attendee info questions that you have available to you. And you can see that these are account level questions here because they have that account level marker or indicator here inside that question. So fax machine is already there, which is a little embarrassing. But if you add a question that is just an event level question, it will not have that sample indicator associated with it. You can see that that event level question does not have that marker in it. Now this means that in your cross event reports, if you were to create a cross event report that was showing you all of your attendees, you would not be able to bring over event level questions in an attendee list cross event report. So show me all of my attendees who are first time attendees, show me all my attendees who found out about this event through a colleague. If you have some of those cross event meta reports that you want to gather, we want to bring in those questions as account level questions. So I'm going to come down on the left-hand side to my wee hamburger menu and head into account settings, which is where we're going to spend most of our time in today's session. Now I'm just opening that in a new tab. I don't want to lose the spot that I'm on. I just want to quickly open that in a new tab. And under module settings, under registration settings, we have those standard info questions. So you can go ahead here and add in those account level questions that will be present throughout all of your registration sites, such as dietary, emergency contact, preferred badge name, how did you find out about this event, is this your first time at this event. You can decide which of those questions are worthy of becoming account level questions. You have a limit of adding up to 50 new questions. Now these questions will serve as that central depository for all of your registration sites, which is great. But they also serve another purpose. Should you use the marketing tool, the marketing module, to create a mailing list and invite people to register for their events, if you want the information in the mailing list to pre-populate into the registration site, it must be set up as an account level question in order to create that bridge between the marketing module and the registration site. And a good example of this might be the employee ID number or customer ID number. And you have, excuse me, you have that information. Are you able to see my screen, everybody? I have one person who cannot see my screen. Do you want to leave the room and come back into the room and just restart your Zoom here? Is there a tab at the top of your Zoom window that says screen share? So if you look at the top, do you have two separate tabs, and one is a screen share and one is the main speaker profile screen? Give a look at that. But we have here the employee ID number, for example. If I create this as an account level question, if I create customer client number or something like that, now that field is available to upload in the mailing lists, and it would carry over into the registration site. So the account level questions are my central depository of questions, but they also create that bridge between the marketing module and the actual registration site. Put in as many questions as you can in the account level, and then you don't have to worry about trying to remember them in all of your events. And if you have multiple languages, all of these questions are available to be created and translated into those different languages for you. So when we focus on building a registration site, we want to bring all of those questions into the account level area. That's the first thing I want to show you. The second thing I want to show you is under sessions and speakers. If I'm adding in a session here, you can see that Stova gives you some session fields: session description, session name, session reference. You can add up to 10 more custom session fields, maybe session level, maybe you have a separate session ID number. You can also, when you add speakers, add in 10 more custom speaker fields, such as speaker's education level, speaker's affiliation, speaker's native language, something like that. Let's go and see where we add those custom fields for speakers and sessions right in the account level area. So when I go to my wee hamburger and come down to account settings, if I head into account details, we want to navigate to the custom field section and switch the object type to sessions or speakers. So this is where I can add up to 10 custom fields. So speakers, education level, and I'll make that a single line of text. I could make it a required field when I'm establishing the profile of the speaker. Let me switch to sessions and I'll add in a custom session field. So this will be session level, for example. And maybe for this one, I'll make it a drop down. And for our drop downs, we're going to have like a college system, different numbers associated with different levels or something like that. So I've added in those custom fields into my speakers profiles and my session profiles. And then I can choose, if I was to add a speaker here, I could choose which of those fields would actually show up in the speaker's pop-up or in the session pop-up. I can choose to add those custom fields into that pop-up. So when somebody's going through registration, we might want to show them those custom session merge fields included in the pop-up about the speaker or about the session. Now, inside that speaker's profile, if I edit this pop-up here, it is unique for this speaker in this one event, but maybe for all of your events, you would like that pop-up, so session pop-up, speaker pop-up, to always include that custom field. And we can set that at the account level. So I'm going to go back to my other tab. I'm going to go back to module settings, registration settings, and all the way down. Here we have the more info pop-up formatting. I'm going to open up this little guy, open up my editor, and for the session details, from now on, in every event, for every session, I want to bring in that session level field. And I could remove it from that one unique session inside the event if I wanted to, but as a default, at the account level, for all of my session pop-ups, and as a default, for all of my speaker pop-ups, we're going to make sure that those fields will automatically come in. So now I'm creating the account settings to help me build my event. Now I'm going to go back to the registration site, and I have here under event info, basic details, you have the ability, of course, to switch your registration site to live. Now, maybe I've switched it to live, but I've forgotten to take some actions. I've forgotten to create the mailing list. I've forgotten to clone the website. I've forgotten to test my site. One of the features that you can use in the overview tab is you can add your own custom tabs here with custom questions, and you can make these questions required, but the requirement would prevent you from switching that status to live until all of those questions were answered. So the overview tab, which looks pretty naked in your brand new account, actually has a ton of power to help you with managing your events and everything about your events. So I'm going to go to my account level settings again, go to account details and go back to those custom fields. And I'm going to add in an overview tab. And this is going to be my pre-go live checklist. So I'm creating this tab. And on this tab, I'm going to add in all of my little checklists. So test all categories. Great. That's going to be on the pre-go live checklist tab. And I'm going to make it a little tick box. And I'll do a few of those and I'll make them required. And I'll tick this box that says, don't allow me to set the status to live until I've answered all those questions on the overview tab of my event. So maybe that's too strict for some of you, but plenty of my clients use this feature. Now, I'm going to go back into the registration site and refresh, and I'm looking at the overview tab. There's my pre-go live checklist. I can make this question mandatory, which means that if I went to the settings of this registration site, I would be prevented from switching this to live until I had gone into that overview tab and actually answered all of the required questions. So maybe you'll have the hotel contract uploaded, the date of the mailing list to be mailed associated with this event, or you might have budgetary information in here. So have a look at the overview tab, add your custom tabs and add in that information. Now I'm going to head back into the registration settings because we might have lots of emails associated with this event. And I might have lots of custom emails associated with this event. And these custom emails are know before you go or download our mobile app. So I might have oodles and oodles of custom emails here related to my event. I'm going to have weather information. I'm going to have geographical information. And something might change. And now you've got to update all of those custom emails individually with that same information. So maybe you're going to have arrival date information that's consistent. Instead of having to go into each of these custom emails, I could put little pockets of that information on the overview tab, and it serves the purpose of being a little merge field in those emails. So on my overview tab, if I go back to the account settings area, I'm going to add a custom field, which might be the mobile app login code. And I'm going to keep it on that default tab, but it's just going to be a single line of text. I'm going to add in another one, which is the weather link info. Because for all of my events, I typically put in this type of information in all of my custom fields or the on-site contact person for this event. Again, single line of text. And now these three little fields are going to show up on this overview tab. Let me just refresh my overview tab. So right here on the first tab, has to be on this first tab, I've added these little fields. So the on-site contact person is Steph. Here's my weather link for this information, weather.com or something like that. Kells is my hometown. The mobile app login code for everybody is Stova123 or something like that. So I'm putting this information, and inside my emails, those little fields are now available as merge fields to put into your email information. So if I go into the belly of the emails, I only need to send emails now as HTML. I'm always going to switch that to the default. But now your mobile app login information is, when I go to merge field, it's under it's under the event details section. But you see where it says here, populates the mobile app login code, populates on-site contact info, populates weather information. Is there any information that you typically put into all of your custom emails that you could quickly use it, or any of the emails? Put it on that overview tab. So I feel like the overview tab is not used as often as it should be because it saves you an awful lot of time with pre-populating your emails. So now if for some reason your weather information or your mobile app information changes, you only have to go to the overview tab and update it here one time. And now all of those emails have that updated information. Another area of the email that we could potentially centralize, or headers and footers of websites and registration sites, is if you go to the account level settings under databases and templates, you have the HTML snippet area. If I add a snippet, this is perfect for generic information that you might have at the bottom of every website, at the bottom of every registration site. Something like this. So this is my copyright at Stova. And this is 2026 copyright. Or maybe you've got your disclaimers, your address, your footers, your social media links. This, for example, right on my screen is a great example of an HTML snippet that I would definitely centralize at the account level here under databases and templates under HTML snippets. I'll add another one called the social media links for 2026, something like that. So add lots of samples in there. And now if I head back to the registration site, headers and footers, any website headers and footers, when you go into the content area to build out this content, now when you go to merge fields, you have HTML snippets. That was not there before at all because I did not have an HTML snippet visible at all. And now you can just pop in the copyright link, the disclaimers, the social media links. It displays as a snippet here in this little box, but now you don't have to worry about updating every footer, every website footer in relation to that. Now, the good thing about these merge fields is, let's just say you've decided not to use Facebook anymore as one of your social media links. I can come into this link and tweak it right here, and it'll automatically update everywhere in every site, in every website or registration site or footer of an email. Wherever it is, it'll update. So this is an active merge field. And if you're finished with these ones, you could switch it to inactive when you're no longer using it. So HTML snippets is a fabulous way to centralize the content across multiple modules and areas of the platform. But using those custom fields is also a fabulous way of centralizing that information across your actual events with your preview of your checklist, etc. So a couple of little features that I really want you guys to start using. Saves you a ton of time and stress. I want to absolutely try and lower my stress levels. I want to go to the databases and templates again, and we have here the images database. Now this is brand new, spanking clean account, so it looks pretty clean. But if I go here to my training account where I generally live and breathe, I'm sure my images database here is pretty messy. So this is starting to look like, my teenager's bedroom here. It's a complete mess. But you can see here that I've got two images exactly the same here. So how did that happen? When you go to upload an image here and you go to select an image, I want you to be careful. When I click on this image, I'm going to bring in this image and click on open and pop it in. This button right here, only click on it one time and hands off. So I'm going to click on it once and let it run and hands off. So if you've selected 20 images, you might not see any action happening right at that second when I click on upload. You just got to wait. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I very, very often see two images side by side, exactly the same, and it's because somebody was impatiently clicking on that button to upload the image and not giving it time to upload. Now, I do not know if this image is in use somewhere on a website or a registration site. So if I decided to get clean and clean up my database and delete one of these images, I may now have an error on a website or a registration site because I do not know where that image was. So what I could do is move this image into another folder. That link will still stay the same. It is not folder dependent. So for those of you that are saying you don't have time to clean up this image database, I'm going to push you on this. I want you to clean it up. And very importantly, I want you to make sure that you're putting in your alternative text for this image. And the alternative text is one of the ways that we ensure that we have excellent accessibility on our registration sites and on our websites. So when I go into view all my events and I want to preview my registration site here, if I right mouse click and do an inspect on this site, I can run a lighthouse inspection in my Google Chrome for accessibility. And one of, we do have to honor the accessibility. So if somebody has a vision issue or an accessibility issue, they will be able to read the screen, and adding alt text to your images is critical for the scoring associated with the accessibility performance of your site. So in your images database, when you go into your images database and you're cleaning up that images database, you want to make sure that you move stuff into the right folder, you're tidying it up, you're not clicking on that image too much, and that you're putting in your alt text as much as possible. When you upload the image right into the registration site or right into the website, you have the opportunity to put in the alt text right there and then when you do that upload. I also have a document here where I'm giving you some instructions on best practices for naming conventions for images. I do notice that a lot of your images databases are quite messy. And if I'm searching for an image, if we did have excellent naming convention, we might have a little bit more success in finding our images. So maybe start all of your speakers images with the word speaker underscore first name, last name, date of the image, hotel images. As a team, just decide on the naming conventions in general. So best practice there is just to be able to make sure your protocols are in place for naming those. With your documents database here, when you upload a document here, you do get this prompt that, this document is publicly visible on the internet. So I'm going to grab a document here, for example. And this document is now going to be given a URL, which is great because we want to be able to access it on our mobile app or something like that. So it could be potentially found on the internet. So one of the things I want you to get really good at is actually coming into your document database and deleting the documents for the event that you've just closed. Keep the deletion of your documents as part of your protocol for closing down a registration site or reconciling your events that are no longer being used. Definitely come in and keep this clean. That will be one of my Christmas wishes for all of you. Delete all of that stuff. You don't need it on there. And by uploading the document here, it's certainly not the only location of that document. You have those documents yourselves in your own servers, so it doesn't need to be stored on Stova for any longer than the event potentially. So reconsider your protocols there for storage of images and documents and keep them clean. I want to stay in the database and templates area for a few more seconds. We've touched on the HTML, snippets, all the way over at tracks. If you're brand new to Stova, you may not see any tracks in here at all, but I'm going to add in a couple of tracks. I can associate them with a color. I'll add in another track. And tracks will now appear. It wasn't there before, but when I'm adding in a new session in my registration site, if I open up my session, I now have a whole section of tracks. That was not displayed before. And I can associate one or more tracks with my sessions. This would allow my attendees to filter by that track. If they were looking at the website agenda widget, they could see, show me all the tracks, or show me all the sessions that are associated with the leadership track. show me all of the sessions that are associated with the higher ed track. However, as a planner here on the back end, I could also filter by certain tracks. So this helps me plan the subject matter of all of my sessions coming up. But if you're fairly new to Stova, you might not see the whole section of tracks there. And it's because at the account level, we want to add at least one track in here to be able to see tracks going through in the actual events. Under the themes section, I'm going to go ahead and create a new theme. And I might have an organization where I have a couple of different types of events. So we typically run training events. And if we're looking at the training events, they are typically a different branded color. And I'll go ahead and create the brand for the training events. But we also do internal events, which slightly different look and feel to them. And this one is going to be a little bit more different. Now I can lock down these themes at the account level. So nobody's going to be able to change them when they apply them inside their registration site. So I can create themes for registration sites, and I can create themes for the survey module. So if I head back to the registration site and under theme editor, instead of having to fiddle through all of the themes that are lying here, I'd be able to quickly apply those pre-built themes. And with the internal one, I locked it down so nobody could touch it again. But with the training one, I kept that open so that somebody could tweak it. So that's a little centralized way to keep control of your look and feel. So if you imagine a university might have a Department of Education, Department of Nursing, they might all have slightly different branding, and we want to control the theming applied. So if you're going to use the theme approach, you could create your folder for templates for your registration sites. And these templates, for example, I might have a quick registration site. So super simple, a couple of quick questions, a dietary question. So I'm going to create a registration site that is super simple and everybody can quickly use it. So they come in, clone the site and apply the theme that's relevant for their department. So that's one way that you could approach actual building your registration sites. My templates are functional. So I'll have a quick reg site, uber simple, and then I'll have a big fat registration site with hotel and travel and credit cards and oodles of emails. That's another registration site that I have where I actually build out group bookings and exhibitor bookings and things like that. So fairly complicated. Somebody's going to clone that site and they apply the theme that's relevant for that build. So you could approach your cloning process, managing your sites in that way. I want to give a quick shout out. We have these modern templates that are available to you in the next couple of weeks. You'll see this coming out. We've got some pre-built, beautiful new look and feel templates that are available to you. So you can see here I've picked our sleeker template here. This is our luxury wellness template. I'm going to change this template to a different one here, which is our slightly different one here. So you've got 5 new templates coming out that you could quickly apply as well. That'll all be available to you in the next few weeks. So consider how you want to make your cloning process available right inside your account. Now I'm going to go back to my busier looking account here, which has a lot more events on it. And I want to bring your attention to the fact that you can add more columns here. Just looking at the display of your sites here, I'm going to change the columns and bring in the column that says number of lines of registration and number of attendees. So click on your add edit columns. If you don't have these columns on there, bring those in, because the number of lines of registration is how many lines of registration are in that site. But some people may have cancelled, some people might be inactive. So those numbers might be slightly different. So you can see here in my fencing club meeting, I've actually got 837 lines of registration, but I only have 240 actually confirmed registrations. So there might be a difference there. We could also filter to, I don't need to see my archived or my cancelled or my sold out. I know some of you have uber busy folders full of all of your events. So just, save your eyeballs here. Just untick some of these tick boxes here. You don't need to be scrolling down through oodles of your events. And then by all means, create that archived folder where you can drag and drop and dump your old ones into, and then it'll save your eyeballs when you're trying to look through all of these really busy events. Keeping in mind, if you're diving in and exploring the new dashboard library that we have for you, you could filter this dashboard library by folder. So if you are moving items around or creating a folder structure, you can do your reports by structure, dashboard by folder, and your cross-event reports also by folder. So I'm going to dig into my event info report, show me all of my events. I'm going to filter by all of my events, but I could filter by folder or filter by dates, and I can bring in different views of the metadata of my event. So show me every number of people who checked in and attended, number of people who cancelled, number of confirmed regs, the number of people who clicked on the decline button from the marketing module. So that's given me some great conversion data there. And how many incomplete lines of registration, because that shows me how healthy my form is. Did people stop as they were going through registration, or did they actually get to complete their registration? So my cross-event report is giving me valuable information about that event and the success of the registration form design itself, because we are form designers at our core. So we've got to get really good. A healthy form is a completed form. So how is that form as successfully complete as possible? Now I'm going to go in and add a new view on here. And when I go to add a new view in here, I can bring in that metadata about the event, the folder it's in, the date it was created, the event type, the number of lines of regs. But I want to scroll down a wee bit, because those custom fields in that event overview tab that we just started with are checklists, our hotel information, whatever you added at that event overview field is now available in that cross event report. So let's go to my brand new account here, cross event report, event info report. I'm going to add a new view, and I'm going to bring in some of the metadata about my events. That's great. But all the way down, these are those event overview fields that we just brought in. The mobile app login, did I test all categories, the date the mailing list has to go out, unique information about the hotel. So whatever you put in those overview tabs as an administrator, you can make them part of your meta reports about your actual events. So here you can see I've got a couple of events that are missing that information that I'm using to populate into those emails inside the actual event. So that cross-event information report, super helpful for bringing in that information. Now, as you've got teams of people using your events, you are going to be adding those users to your account, but each of those users could have a different profile so that they see different technology under the wee hamburger. In addition, we could create a user profile whereby when they log in to the actual event and look at the registration site, we're going to hide some of the tabs that are available. So maybe I've got colleagues that are going to work on my registration sites. They're not going to build them. I just really need them to see the reports and modify attendees' records. I don't need them to see any of these tabs on here. And that's exactly what you can do in account settings under user profiles. So access profile is where I create their folder structure. So this person is going to see the folders for the nursing department. So when they go in and log in, they're only going to see whatever folders in each of the modules I make available to them. So if I'm hiring new people, maybe initially I'll only give them access to the training folders. So when they log in, they'll only see those folders underneath each of the modules. But it's under module profiles that I will give them the technology. So this person, when they log in, they're only going to see the registration module. So under their wee hamburger, they're only going to see the events module. And when they log into that event registration site and they're editing it, I'm not going to give them access to see any of the tabs across the top. So it's going to look super slimmed down. Maybe they don't need to see hotel and travel. Maybe they're going to do nothing with transactions. And I really don't want them changing the look and feel of things. I'm really going to kind of tie their hands a wee bit there. And I certainly don't need to see all of those reports. I just need to see my two best friends, registrant list and summary reports, or whatever you want to do for some of the functions. So this means if you create a module profile that's quite reflective of where your staff member is using the profile, you're going to have a lot less issues with training and onboarding because their swim lane is very much defined by the functionality that they're doing. In addition to access profiles, I'm only allowing you to see the training folders first while you onboard for a few weeks, and then I'll expose you to the other folders that you have the rights to see. Now, if I set up this user profile, and when I add that user, so I'm going to pop in here and add the user. I scroll down just a wee bit. Here's the access for the training folder, and here's the access for the reg only. And I'm going to create, I have to do my country. And I'm going to create this user profile. And if you're anxious about, maybe testing this yourself before you send this out to somebody, you can by all means create your own user profile. So I've got Carla and Jennifer on the call here. So I'll do Jennifer sample, Jenny sample. Use your same email, create a new profile for yourselves and test that profile. Send yourself the welcome email, log in under that profile and give it a whirl before you send it out to anyone on your team. And go ahead and test that before you send it out. So now that person is in their swim lane whittled down. I got a great question here. Is there any way to bulk delete your images here in the images folder? Now I'm going to go back to my messy one over here, and there isn't, but that's a great suggestion. So I'm going to take your suggestion. I'm going to send it over as an enhancement suggestion. So I can't bulk delete. I do have to come in here and click on delete and do that. So yeah, one by one. I know it's a lot of work, but I'm sure you've got a messy database there. But it is a lot of work to do that. Yes, understood. I'm going to come back to registration settings and just point out a few things here in the account level settings area. Now, you have to be an account administrator to see account settings under your wee hamburger, but this is where you could set your default languages across all the events. So maybe you're based in Canada or Ireland where we spell things correctly. We want to come in and set up the language settings so it permeates all parts of our platform use. So I'm going to put in that U in all of the words that the United States took the U out of. This is where you would set up your payment gateway. If you wanted to send texting from an event registration site when somebody registers, you would have to sign up with the SMS gateway called Clickatel because that's the one that we embed with. So you could certainly set up texting from the registration site. But I want to show you a couple of things about category types and session types. This will take me another 3 minutes, and I'm sorry I'm going a little bit over, but let me just show you session types, for example. we're going to add a session type where everybody has to do some mandatory training, or I'm going to identify something about session types. Now, what this does for you is if you go into a registration site, and I'll just open up my goofy fencing club meeting, and inside my session types, because I've added a session type at the account level, all the way down at the bottom, I can tell the platform, restrict by session type. So everybody has to select at least one session with the type of mandatory training and no more than one. So if I was forcing people to make selections during registration, I could say you have to pick at least one of these. Everybody is mandated to do this training. Or maybe I'm going to do a spa massage offerings and you can only grab one of those slots. That's what I would use session types for. So you can see those restrictions at the bottom. If I open up my sessions, you can see here under session details, session type is now available. So that's a really good use of session typing. I'm going to go back to my account here and show you inside my registration site where I've got categories. For this event, I've got bronze exhibitors, silver exhibitors, gold exhibitors. I would potentially have to send these individual links of these categories out to the bronze people or to the silver people. But if I didn't know as an exhibitor, are you going to be bronze, silver, or gold, I might want to send another link that combines those three categories together. And that's what category typing does for you. Now I'm going to go back to the account level sections. This is the last area I'm going to wrap up with for us today. So under module settings, under registration settings, I'm going to add in the category type of exhibitor. And I could add more. So let's just do general attendee. And inside every single registration site now, when I open up, I've got category type. This is an exhibitor. I'm going to associate the silver exhibitor with the category type of exhibitor and the same with the gold. Now here I'm going to click on Save and Stay. So what I get now is a direct category type link. So almost a third level of categorization. So when I send this link to the exhibitors, it's now going to combine those three initial categories together in a lump. And then I might have subcategories in each of these categories. It says, are you exhibiting for all 4 days? Are you exhibiting for 3 days? Are you exhibiting for 2 days? So sometimes I need that third layer of categories because you get category and subcategory, but sometimes I need to group them a little bit one layer prior to that, and that's what category type does for you. When you look at that, now you could run a cross-event report counting category types. For example, with my attendee, I'm going to associate this as an attendee. If I add a category in a registration, I might have pilots as a category. I might have all random names of different categories, but if I was to type them as attendee, no matter what their category name, you know, my category name might be, I'm attending all 3 days. Who the heck knows that that's an attendee? But by assigning it a type, you're now able to count across all of your events in your cross-event reports. Show me all the events of the, the category type of attendee versus exhibitor versus staff member, things like that. So typing is actually quite useful. It gives you that third layer, but it also allows you to count across your events because categories could have all different types of names. So dig in and see if you could use any of these features. That's for sure. I love giving homework, as you know. So clean up your images database, clean up your document database. Don't forget your alt text and really, really, really dig into that overview tab. It's so helpful, especially the population, to help you put some information into your emails, but also for your pre-go live checklist. If you want to put up that gate, Now, have I checked every box before you go live? I find that super, super helpful. So I think I've gotten to all the questions. I was kind of keeping an eye on them over there. But if you do set, just looking at Sarah's question here, if you do set that overview question tab, it is going to slow you down, especially if you're more of the advanced user and you really don't need a lot of help. It's super duper for those folks who are brand new. But if you are an advanced user, it would. So you would have to come in here and fill it in. So it's on or off. It's feast or famine for all of your events. So you turn it on or you don't turn it on. So yeah. So if some of you have some of the questions here are about cleanup and getting clever with cleanup. If you've got oodles and oodles and oodles of images to clean up and oodles of documents to clean up, you could certainly email support and see if they can help you do a bulk delete of things. We've certainly helped clients with that, but also make sure you pay attention to the purging aspect. Make sure you're purging your old events. That's probably required for all of us with GDPR compliancy and privacy compliancy. Make sure that you are purging your events. If you don't know about purging, please give us an email at training@stova.io. This recording will be available for you. And if I haven't gotten to all the questions, I will get back to you. I do apologize. I kept you a little bit late. Trying to squeeze all of this into 30 minutes was tough. But yeah, let me know if there's any other area you want to cover in the next couple of months. But we do have new registration templates coming out for you. You'll see that soon. We've got a new version of emails coming out, or enhanced features are coming out. I'm very excited. In the next month or so, you'll see all of that. It's been going really wonderfully in the beta, so we're excited to get that out to you soon. Yes, it is a Maltese cross, Suzanne. My friend from Morocco got it for me. All right, guys. Listen, have a fabulous rest of your week. This is my first Monday tackling this. I usually do these on a Tuesday or Thursday. So yeah, cool. I love Malta. Um, is the data in the custom fields cloned or the registration site is cloned? Yes, it will clone for you. Yeah, you got to clean it up. All right, everybody. It's lovely to see you and have a fabulous rest of your week. And please email training@stova.io if you have any questions. Bye bye.